You probably use it every day, right? You drag a file, drop it into a folder, and poof, it just works. Suddenly, it's on all your devices, ready to go. But behind that incredibly simple action is an absolutely stunning feat of engineering. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you how a service like Dropbox really works.
I mean, really think about it for a second. You click Save, you see that little blue sync icon whirl around, and then it's done. But that tiny moment, that split second, hides a storm of activity, a really complex dance of servers, security, and data being flung across the globe. So what is actually happening in that moment? Well, that's the big question we're going to answer today.
Okay, let's dive right in. Look, before anyone writes a single line of code or plugs in a single server, you need a blueprint. You need to know what you're building. So we're going to start right there, at the foundation, and define the basic rules and challenges for a service like this.
All right, so first things first, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What even is cloud storage? At its heart, it's pretty simple. It's a service that lets you store your stuff, your files, and get to them securely from anywhere on any device you own. It's kind of like your own personal hard drive, but one that's basically infinite and follows you everywhere. A simple idea on the surface, but as we're about to see, it's incredibly tricky to get right.
So, what are the real challenges here? What are the rules of the game? Well, the obvious one is that users have to be able to upload and download their files. Duh. But the system also has to be highly available. I mean, it can't just go down, right? It also needs to handle massive files. We're talking up to 50 gigabytes. And of course, it absolutely has to be secure, reliable, and maybe most importantly, fast. These are the big design puzzles we're about to solve one by one.
All right, let's start tackling this list. First up, the most fundamental step of all. How do we actually get your files into the cloud in the first place?
This seems pretty simple, doesn't it? Just send the file to a server. But, when you're building something for millions of people, the simplest answer is almost never the best one. This question of how a user should upload a file is a classic engineering problem. Let's walk through how the solution evolves. Now, this is where it gets really cool, because you can see the thinking process. The first, most obvious idea, your computer uploads directly to our server. The problem is that server's going to run out of space fast, and if it crashes, poof, your files are gone. Not good. Okay, so a better idea. You upload to our server, and it then turns around and uploads your file to a massive, super reliable storage service like Amazon S3. Think of it as a giant infinite hard drive in the sky. But hang on a second. You're uploading the file twice. That's slow and costs a ton of money. And that brings us to the pro solution. Our server gives your computer a special one-time use key. Your computer then uses that key to upload the file directly to that massive cloud storage, completely bypassing our servers. I mean, how smart is that? Super elegant, super efficient.
And this right here, this is a core principle of modern system design. When you're moving big chunks of data, like files or videos, you want to get your own servers out of the way. It saves you bandwidth, it cuts down the load on your systems, and it makes the whole process way faster and more reliable for the user. It's a win-win-win.
Great. So your file's safe and sound in the cloud. Awesome. But now, how do we get it back just as efficiently? Especially if you're, say, in Tokyo and the file is stored on a server in Virginia. Let's talk about downloading. And the secret weapon for this is what's called a Content Delivery Network, or a CDN for short. The best way to think about it is like a global franchise. So instead of having one giant digital warehouse in Virginia, a CDN builds hundreds of smaller local warehouses all over the planet. When you ask for a file in Tokyo, you don't have to wait for it to travel all the way from Virginia. Nope, you get it from the local Tokyo warehouse. This one idea is a game changer. It slashes the distance the data has to travel and makes downloads feel almost instant.
Okay, so we've got the basics down. Uploading, downloading, check. But what about that monster 50 gigabyte file we talked about? Trying to upload something that massive brings a whole new world of pain. This is really the peak of our design challenge. To really feel the weight of this problem, just look at this number. On a pretty typical 100 megabit per second internet connection, uploading a single 50 gigabyte file would take over an hour. Now imagine this, your Wi-Fi drops at minute 59, and you have to start all over again, from zero. I mean, come on, that's a totally broken user experience. No one would use that.
So, how do the pros get around this? They use this brilliant, absolutely essential technique called chunking. The idea is simple but powerful. Instead of trying to send one gigantic, fragile file, the software on your computer first slices it up into thousands of little, manageable pieces, or chunks. And this comparison just lays it all out, right? A single upload is all or nothing, totally prone to failure. But a chunked upload, it's resumable. If your internet connection dies, who cares? You just pick up right where you left off with the next chunk. You can show a perfect progress bar. You can even send multiple chunks at the same time to max out your internet speed. It is just, hands down, a superior way to do it in every single category.
So, we've solved the big puzzles: direct uploads, fast downloads using CDNs, and chunking for those huge files. We've collected all the pieces. Now, let's zoom out, put them all together, and look at the complete blueprint we've just designed.
And here it is, the whole shebang. The client on your computer is the one doing the chunking. It makes a request to our secure front door, the API gateway. That gateway connects to our file service, which is kind of the brains of the whole operation. It's the thing that hands out those temporary upload keys and keeps track of all the file info, like names, and who has permission to see them in a metadata database, which is basically the system's card catalog. The actual file chunks get sent directly to that massive blob storage, our infinite digital warehouse. And for downloads, the files get served up through that speedy CDN network. See? Every single component has a clear and vital job to do.
You know, it all just comes back to this one idea. That simple, everyday act of dragging a file into a folder, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Underneath it all, there's this incredibly complex but honestly really beautiful engineering solution, all designed to be fast, reliable, and work for millions and millions of people all at once.
So the next time you use some app that feels super simple, it makes you wonder, right? What other everyday tools that we all take for granted are hiding this kind of incredible engineering just under the hood? What else is out there?